Hey, let's discuss the crucial concepts of chain validation and chain replacement. First up, we got chain validation. So, what does chain validation mean, and why is it necessary? Chain validation is the concept of inspecting a blockchain and checking that each block has been constructed correctly. To check for correctness, there's a few rules that we've already established when building a block in the chain. One, it has to consist of the right fields: the timestamp, a data field, a last hash, and the hash itself. Two, the last hash field of each block needs to actually reference the hash of the block that came before it. This is particularly important since that is what creates the links from block to block in the blockchain. Three, the block hash needs to be valid. This is probably the most crucial piece for validation. The hash is generated by feeding all of the fields of the block into a function that generates a unique hash value. So therefore, this is how we'll check for hash validity. First, we'll take all the fields contained in the block. Then we'll regenerate the hash ourselves. We'll check if this generated hash is equal to the hash contained in the block. If this regenerated hash doesn't match the hash presented by the block, then we know that at least one of the fields has been tampered with. Remember, all it takes is just one character to throw off the hash. Since the data is now different, the SHA-256 function now generates a completely different hash value. So if the hash doesn't match the regenerated hash and it's off, either the attacker is trying to change the data field, the timestamp, or even the last hash reference in their favor. And therefore, the chain overall is invalid. So that covers chain validation. Now let's discuss chain replacement. So the blockchain should be able to replace its chain with a new chain of blocks, as long as the new chain is longer and it deems that the incoming chain of blocks is valid. So replacement is this event where the blockchain array of blocks changes from a previous set of blocks to a new valid and longer chain. Now, why is chain replacement necessary? Recall that a blockchain doesn't act alone. It shouldn't be this lone wolf that is building its own array of blocks. The power of the blockchain shines when multiple instances of a blockchain application work together like a wolf pack. When multiple blockchains are interacting with each other like this, we're calling this the blockchain network. The goal with the blockchain network is that they all come to a unanimous agreement on the true longest and valid blockchain. And this is the power of the blockchain. Multiple nodes have now come to an agreement on an official set of blocks. That blockchain is now distributed and public across all the nodes, and everyone has an equal stake in maintaining that valid blockchain. Plus, it's decentralized. There's not one entity with the responsibility of managing all the data, and therefore having all the power of the entire system. But all of this would not be possible without chain validation and replacement. So there's a lot more nuance to this that we'll add in the future, particularly with the aspect of the blockchain network. But for now, let's focus on nailing those primary concepts of validation and replacement.